What is up, everybody? This is Spag Heddy, and you're watching the project breakdown of my track Bomb. I don't never say die. I hope you enjoyed the track. If you didn't, then that is fine too. But what are you doing here then? Get the heck out of here. So while I'm gonna show you guys how Bomb is made, this does not mean that I'm telling you that this is how you should produce. This is just how it works for me. Yeah, let's dive right into it. Alright, so here's our project. It's nothing too crazy, as you can see. Here's our intro part, first drop, midsection, and last drop. In the top I usually have my drums and my percussions. So here we have our kick and our crash. Then I have a slow string here, which is an epic pad in Nexus with no effects on them whatsoever. Thing is. So that really sets the mood. A few muted things, some strings that later will come in. This one is on. It's the lower layer, which is Dystopian Lead in Flex. The vocal is from Final Space. Before you came aboard. That I chopped up a little. There's some OTT on it. There's some lo-fi crunch on it. Crunch. And a little bit of equalizing. And it's also pitched down. So here are a new few elements. We have our strings here. The staccato strings in Flex. With, again, not too much effect on it, OTT and some equalizing. Now, the guitar that you hear, so this is the entire sample. So that is resampled. At first I made that with heavier strings. Very heavy, CPU heavy plugin that has a lot of amazing electric guitar sounds and presets. So I made that really easy riff in there, resampled it to audio and chopped it up into pieces. Some Sullivan King drums actually. Well, the crash is from Thomas Benton. On the background I have a filtered resampled beat. The clap, of course we have our clap. And then probably the main element here is those nice little bendy strings, which are also Flex. So one layer is this. Sounds like there's some disperser on it, yep. OTT, equalizing, and some disperser. And the other layer, this glitchy, high-pitched one on the same mixer channel. Together that makes this. So then comes the build-up, and the build-up, the kick and the crash obviously build up a little faster. There's a new snare coming in, which is actually a cymatic snare with some disperser and a frequency shifter that goes up. Yeah, so that the frequency shifter pitches it up. I made a percussion riser in Harmor, I believe. I believe I just threw a bunch of percussions, made a drum beat really quick, probably of like 4 bars, looped it, and then made its pitch rise up, wash it out with some effects, and resampled it to save CPU again. So there are the chords. The chord progression really builds up, builds suspense. A cashmere sweep in here. The strings continue as well. Yeah, and a bit of a bass rise here for that low layer. And this effect. Here, once again, those glitch effects that I was talking about. So here you can hear the bass, the main bass of the drop coming up. So with a filter, with our vocal here, and then a nice little whoopy sound, which comes from a Fruity sample pack, stock Fruity samples, a reversed kick, And then we arrive at the drop. So the drop, in the top layer we have all our drums. Let me play just the drums. The kick comes from a loud pack sound pack. The snare comes from a fruity pack as well, heavily boosted. I made it really snappy. Its out point is all the way to the left, so it's like really short. And then with the transient designer, I made the attack louder and some gain and brought the sustain also up. Like I said in the beginning, don't do it like I do. This is just how it, by tweaking knobs, how it just went. Important here is to get snappy drums. If I take away the clap, it's very short. So I like to add a delayed clap after it. Like it's really, you can see that it's really, there's a little space in between the snare and the clap. It comes very late. And it gives a very nice tail. The clap is a Vengeance snare. I only took the tail of that clap. Another loud pack shaker here, which has some kills some frequency in the high mids and the lows, obviously. Okay, then we go to our basses. So without the sub, that first hit is a. Don't ask me why it's called Andy. I can't remember. A lot of my basses that I make in Harmor are actually based on just a really dumb preset in Harmor. But for some reason, one day I tweaked and I got a cool sound out of it, and like out of that preset came hundreds probably of other presets. Just the image that preset has is for some reason works really well. So here's just that sound, some OTT and some equalizing. So yeah, it uses a box phaser and it's on the width and the offset. I did a little tweaking. A lot of voices. The order of your effects is very important. So it is a very, very hard reverb. And a lot of distortion here, a lot of rubber distortion, which is a very nasty distortion. So yeah, that's the sound in Harmor. The main wobbling growly bass is massive, actually. And it's this. Which I have layered a little bit. So there's two isolators working, Chrome and Synformant. With a band reject filter, some chorus, some reverb, and 7 voices, and then I modulate the pitch cutoff of all those voices, so it's very detuned. Using some phase modulation on 24, and connected to the mixer. That's the original, and I made it a lot wetter with an OTT, then a equalizer, then another OTT, reverb, MECD plugin for taking a little less side and boosting the mid. In FabFilter Q, I turned down a bit of the mid highs and then cranked up a bit of the brightest tones. And then I layered it with, I resampled it and resampled that bass and put it under it and made it more stereo and resampled it again, I think. And then put a little bit of frequency shifter on it to make it move more, and that it's not the exact same as the original, so you don't get too much phasing. That's what's up with all the basses. The sub bass. What are you doing? Oh man, the sub bass has some sound goodizer on it. I cut the frequencies here at 200 and then at 20 hertz, and made it all the way mono, and of course linked to the sidechain. Oh, the sidechain is important. As you can see, it's a really hard sidechain, a lot of silence, and then it cuts really hard and brings everything back in with a slam as well. The sidechain in this track is very important. Makes it very snappy. Okay, let's continue. So for the vocals, it's all a bunch of random vocals. For example, this one comes from the Dirty South vocal samples. It says chicken and waffles. And I have a bunch of effects on there. So bit speak, which makes it gives it that nice lo-fi sound. I actually do that very often with vocals. I put a pitcher on it and put it on the key of the track, and then no matter how you pitch the vocal, it's always sort of in key. It's not very accurate, but you know, it helps a lot. And then some delay. So it's actually not too heavily post-processed, but it does enough, you know. You can just drop in a lot of other vocals from whatever sample pack, just run the stuff, chop it up to really small pieces, and like fill all those empty spaces where you want to have vocals, which is what I did during the track. As you can see, this one here, this one here, this one here. They just have those same effects on them, which gives it that nice radio lo-fi feeling. I don't know, it just sounds cool.
What the?
Something that you hear here, like that heavy reverb, that's something very important as well in this track that I've been doing, is a reverb on. So this is the bass. Yes, if I turn the reverb off here, then you see what I mean. It's a very very long decay, super wet. I automated that reverb so that it's like it snaps in and out when I want. So it reverbs really loud, and then it stops immediately again. So the drum fills are what I like to do is just take a bunch of toms, you know, just some drum elements. For example, so these toms are from the Retro Hands Killer Sounds pack. They're kind of heavily post-processed already, I believe. So I usually don't do too much with them. I've only added some OTT, as you can see, to make them a little thicker. So what I like to do is, in the beginning of a project or whatever, I like to make, as you can see here, I like to make some I just put a bunch of drums in a row like that, and then later I can just chop and slide however I want to have a drum fill in some space. So here I did this. See, so I took that pattern, I made that, and then right in front of it, I just took a little part of somewhere else in that drum fill and put it in front of it, and you get this. So here's a new bass that like sustained screechy thing. Very easy to make in Serum. It's literally just the comb filter that does all the work. If I turn it off, so it's FM from B. It's just the standard wavetables that you get when you open Serum. You just link it to the FM and link LFO1 also to the comb. Oh, and with all the drive all the way up. Okay, I had a distortion here that I ended up turning off. A little bit of phaser and a multiband compressor, and I just put it on the same effects channel as the other bass actually. So without effects, and a lot wetter and brighter, and a bit more cleaned up. So, and you hear a wop on the quarter notes under it. That's this one, massive. It's called Schorre Hond in Dutch. Which is here a ply saw 2 and a sync wavetable, hard sync it's called. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. On Formant, both of them on Formant mode. Again, I detune heavily 6 voices, band reject. It has a lot of reverb, full reverb, and a quarter note wobble. FM from B over FM from 2 here as well. Let's see what I did in the mixer. So I created a lot of space. So there's some EQ and some reverb, and then quickie is it's a very short delay, and some OTT. Together, it's cool. The little bass chop in front of it is just from when I resampled all the basses. Let's see. Yeah, so it's just I resampled that main bass and put it right in front of here. Ta-tap, ta-tap, ta-tap. Makes it nice and funky. Okay. So what I really love about this project is that big ass reverb, what I was just showing you guys. Here I basically followed. So the reverb is not chained to the kick. What I just did was I automated the reverb, and on every kick here, And every kick, you can see that I bring up the reverb, and right before the next kick, I bring it back down. And then you get that snappy, very heavily sidechained sound. If I take away that automation, then it's this. So yeah, I bring back that key.
You could do so.
Electric guitar. Okay, maybe now I have to show you guys how I made those glitchy basses. So here it's 2 glitches in a row with some sweeps. Can you see here? It makes it a little hard. So I made this by this is this technique that you can do in any software. For example, you just play only your basses and record that. So now we have this in one Edison. You open up another Edison, and then you hit record, and then you just play what you recorded in the other Edison. And here in Fruity, in Edison, you have this, this one, a little scrub button. So I recorded that, what I just did. See? So yeah, this is how you can make very glitchy, cool stuff. So every last 2 bars, of course, are we bring back the theme. So here we have some sweeps from Vengeance, some Ricky Remedy sweeps, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, the resampled beat again. And then we are at drop. The B part of the drop, which is, yeah, it just repeats all, but now with a different... I cloned that first bass that I made and made it an octave higher. Well, you can do it in different ways. You can either like detune it, that it sounds higher, or you can literally... Or maybe let me see, maybe the phase modulation, I put one. Okay, so here phase modulation is plus 24, and here it's plus 36. That's pretty much the only difference, I think. Some random vocals from whatever sample pack through the same effects chain.
Play it again.
So in every time that this sustain note comes with that wobbly bass layered, I change it up a little, keep some variation in the game. So as you can hear, that serum screech sustain is 1 octave lower, and then the wobble bass goes on 16th notes instead of quarter notes. Hear that reverb modulation again. So yeah, then it just goes until the end. I always like to end my drops with a big reverb. So what I just always do is play the last note of a bass, record it with heavy reverb, and then resample that. So here we have just that bass with reverb. Choppy effects sample pack. Okay, then we are in our mix section. In this really cool little beat that I love doing with that rim snare sound. Here's the rim. Yeah, also from the Thomas Benton Essential Drums pack. Oh, it's just a whole different kick, but it's like one of those punchy... No, I just made it really short, that's all I did. The rolling bass that you hear is, I think, Harmer. Yeah, this is the almost real bass preset in Harmer, which I probably just made a little shorter with plucking. Looks like it's all the way on the B side. Just a nice little bass. So this vocal, drop it boy.
Drop it, boy.
So that boy gets that cool effect from, I believe it's mostly the pitcher that does that. Well, it's mostly bit speak, and then pitcher makes it a little extra auto-tuning. So yeah, I love doing that. So here the basses I resampled and then chopped them into triplets, as you can see here. Let's move the timeline to triplets here. Here, so these are resampled, and then here's a real bass, a new one that I introduced. That's this one, I think. So that's a variation on the original bass, as you can see. Not sure where I made the change. Probably the band reject is a little different. Oh, it looks like the voicing is also a little different. As you can hear, that chrome, the chrome wavetable does a lot. Oh yeah, this sustain here, instead of the high screech one, I introduce a low long boy here. Which is also serum, so it's this one. So distortion and phaser, so very minimal processing inside serum. And it's mostly the comps probably that does all the work. And it's also connected to the same mixer channel, so same post-processing. And I pitch it down, as you can see. Goes from F to our keynote D sharp. Is it D sharp? I think that's what it's called. So yeah, here I have the drums, and what I often also like doing is take a snare and then stretch it the frick out from here to Tokyo. So then you get this. Stretch, and on the transient mode in FL. So it's stretched here with multiplier. Pitch down, and a lot of boost. A lot of boost. Okay, and it has some vocodix reverb on it actually. So not really that vocodix effect, but just a reverb. And a little less attack, a bit more sustain. So yeah, here I also introduce a new, more trappy, snare clappy thing. Which is this. Comes from a Ricky Remedy pack. Layered with my clap, my delayed clap. I think it's like one of the most important elements of this track, like what it makes it different is just that hard reverb cutting. Instead of smooth, it's always like really hard. And I just love these freaking glitches here.
I'm a happy man.
So if I open up this glitches, what I did. Yeah, so on those glitches is two pretty heavy dispersers and a soft clipper. What I did is I just scrolled through. As you can see, you know, I can just slide through everything I recorded and just find a cool spot. Now, hopefully I'm not gonna accidentally save this. That sounded really cool too, with the vocal right after it. Oh, CPU goes nuts. This is also a new sustain node that I'm introducing. Is it this one? Oh. So it's again a comb filter with FM from B on +7. Oh, now both the octaves are on -2. So that's why it's like, it's a high pitch, but it's still a little lower than the rest. Same post-processing as my main basses again. Maybe I like the basses here on the end the most. I just love the drive in it, the little in between the whoops, those little artifacts that it creates and that OTT picks up. So it's another new variation on the main bass. As you can see now, phase modulation on +48. So another octave higher with another new snare. It's this attack snare from Fruity sample pack. And important, of course, that I add that delayed clap after the snare. Without the clap, it's just this. Yeah, and I always like to go little funny things with where the vocal follows the drums or a bass line. So the toms go down and the vocal too. Yeah, so that's the end. Nothing too crazy, as you can see, but it's definitely. I mean, this track, why it still has 97 mixer channels is because this track has a bit of a history in the beginning. I've had two different vocalists on this track. Electric guitar was the main element in the beginning, and it was a little different and a little weirder. And I had this whole like metal drums. I don't know. I didn't really feel it anymore. At some point, I didn't know how to continue it. And I had all these vocal glitches that I really liked in this track. And in the end, I chose the vocals that I had for this track to use them on other tracks. Instead, just go fully for these very glitchy post-processed vocal chops and the final space vocals. And I think that it worked out really well. I just want to explain one more thing. I connected some of the main basses to a bass bus that only has a cutoff very low. On my master, I have an ozone where there is another cutoff in the lows that starts at 200 and then goes like kind of slow down towards, you know, the very sub. So on the side, I have a cutoff in those mid-high frequencies that are harsh. And then in the mid, I cut away here some frequencies around the 400 area, the muddy area. And on the side, I also added a little bit of brightness between 6 and 10K. If I use ozone, most of the time I'll have dynamics on, which is a multiband compressor. So the sub I compress to minus 1.4, minus 2.9, and 2.7 and 1.2 compression. A little bit of excitement. The low frequency on the low mid frequency. So for the sub, I just add a little bit of harmonics here, just above the half. So it's really not much it adds. The imager, I cut all the stereo width in the sub area. This area between 200 hertz and 2K hertz. It's a bit muddy, but I like to add a little bit of width. I like to add a little bit of width. Then on the high, I also crank it up a little bit. And then in the post equalizer, I cut again some harsh frequencies. All right, so that was me breaking down the bomb project for you guys. I hope you learned something from it, or if you just enjoyed watching it. Hope you guys stay tuned to my social media, and hope to see you on another video or live stream or whatever. Peace.